Hello, everyone, and welcome to Migrant Munch. My name is Dr. Sharika Senamiratna, and I'll be your host on this podcast. Let's dive into today's story.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Migrant Munch. Today I have Tina Abesekra, who is a personal stylist, a writer, and an entrepreneur. So she moved to Sydney when she was 3, and now she's actually based in Los Angeles. So it's a pleasure to have you, and I know we've already talked a lot, but I'll get you to start by telling us, the backstory from little Tina who moved to Sydney to now where you're at.
Wow, what a story. Okay, it started off pretty, I guess traditionally for migrants that were coming from Sri Lanka to Australia at the time in the 80s. So I was born in Kurunegala,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a lot of family still in Kurunegala, so I go back often. We had a wedding out in Sri Lanka as well, so I still am very connected. I speak Sinhala, so I'm
Amazing.
very still connected to my Sri Lankan roots. And even though I moved to Sydney when I was 3, I do see both Sydney or Australia and Sri Lanka being part of me. It's not that I'm Sri Lankan or Australian. It's I am absolutely both, and I've been shaped by both cultures, like for sure. But yes, moved to Sydney and I grew up there, did my schooling all through to university, and I did the traditional path in that I studied science. I went to Sydney University and got my proper job, in
Mm.
my mid 20s, and then went on to do my master's and all of that. And all of this, I guess, was like I was just trying to do what was expected of me. And honestly, I didn't know any other way either. It's just was always ingrained that I followed this path. But it was when I was working as a hydrologist and I had just finished my master's as well. And I was thinking, oh, maybe that will make the job more exciting because I'll do different roles now that I have this extra education. And that didn't happen either. Like
Yeah.
I was still bored. And that's when my boyfriend at the time, who is now my husband, he said, I think you need a hobby. And I just said, I don't do much. I'm just really good at shopping. Shopping is my hobby. And another friend, and funnily enough, I actually worked next door to a Westfield. So I would spend my lunch breaks just kind of shopping. And I was always the girl that would find the bargains, like the sales, and I'd be able to put together outfits for not much money. And, I was a public servant. So, the salaries
Mm.
weren't huge either. So I had to find a way to make it work. And a friend of mine said to me, well, there's this new thing called Instagram. Because this is back in 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
And she's
Okay.
like, there's this new app called Instagram. Maybe you could just like share your outfit there so we can see what you're buying and we can see it in real time. So that's how it started.
Mm.
Needing a hobby, my friends wanting to see what I was wearing, started posting on social media, and the brands started to notice, and I started to, get some brand deals and this and that. And then I ended up being asked to do styling workshops for Macquarie Centre, which is a shopping centre in Sydney. And it kind of shocked me because I'm not a style, like I didn't think I knew anything. I just knew how to dress myself. But I said yes. I was like, you know what, I'll figure this out. And I was on it was in like center stage, and I was on stage and I started to, you know, tell them the things I knew, and people took out notepads and started writing what I was saying. And I was like, hang on, there's something here where everyone shops, everyone wears clothes, but they were actually learning something from my approach to putting together outfits. And that's the first time I thought, okay, maybe I can do something with this. And I ended up training as a personal stylist, and I trained in editorial styling as well at the Australian Style Institute, which is actually down in Melbourne. So I came
Mm-hmm.
down, I took time off work, and I studied that. And it was just going to be a weekend job. like just something I do on the weekends. And my parents were like, yes, it's a great hobby to have on the side. They did not want me quitting my safe government job. And I remember the pandemic hitting, and a coworker of mine, he'd been with the office for like 40 years or 30 something years, and he went into retirement and he passed away like within 6 months
Oh
after
my
leaving.
goodness.
I remember speaking with him, and he had all these plans to travel and be with his wife, and like his family actually lived in Melbourne, and he lived in Sydney just so he could have this
Oh,
job. And he used to fly down to Melbourne like once a month to be with his family, so he was very excited to now retire, but then he didn't get to do that, like, because he passed away. All of this stuff happened in like a
mm,
very short period of time. And I was thinking, like, literally anything could happen. Like, you can plan, but anything could happen. And it's time to like really go all in. And so yeah, I quit my comfortable government job in the middle of a pandemic and went all in on my business. And
wow.
that was, yeah, 5 years ago.
And how did your
Yeah.
parents take it then?
They were not they were not happy. I will tell you this. It was interesting. What I did was I took a year off with no pay.
Hmm.
And this was kind of like the way I kind of tiptoed into it. And to be fair, like, I also was like doing it as a safety, like a little bit of a backup measure, right? It's like my husband and I had a whole plan. Like, I'd saved a certain amount of money so we could, like, if I didn't get any work, like, what would happen. We did have a game plan, but towards the end of that year, that's when the pandemic happened, and that's when my parents were like, "You're definitely going back. Like, you're not going to leave this job."
Mm,
But it took a lot. It wasn't just my parents, it was like, family, friends, and everything as well, like just saying, like, you're making such a huge mistake. And the one person that was cheering me on was my husband.
yeah.
And I remember, like, there was a dinner party at my parents' house, and I was sitting there, and literally, like, all of my, like, the, aunties and uncles, like the
Hmm.
family friends I'd grown up with, were all sitting around me saying to me, like, you are making such a huge mistake. And then finally, someone said, "What does your husband say?" And I said, "He's the one who's telling me to leave." Like, he knew
Mm.
how unhappy I was doing that, and he sees how happy I am doing this. And it was funny because that was the magic thing. That's the thing I should have said from the start, because they just left me alone. Because it was
Yeah.
like, oh, the husband's fine. Okay, fine. Like, yeah, like, I don't agree with it, but it was the thing that got everybody off my back.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny because that's so typical, right? Like when you grow up as a Sri Lankan, I think there's like an expectation for you to be in this like these labeled jobs that are like super
Mm,
important. And then
mm,
you go and do these like other things and it's like, what do you
mm.
mean? That's not a
Yeah,
career?
you know, it just, and I came to realize, and the reason why, my parents and I are fine is because it's all from fear, right? And I remember sitting them down and saying, like, thank you so much for everything you did to bring me to Australia, to give me the education that you did, to help me find the job that ended up being next to the Westfield that created the next chapter for me. Like,
Yeah.
thank you so much for everything you've done to this point. But like, I think I've got this, like, the skills and
Mm.
the tools for me to now move into this next chapter and try this thing for myself. And I think that was a pivotal conversation, because it was like acknowledging, like, yes, they did uproot their lives and bring us to Australia. And I I needed them to understand that I wasn't, like, shunning that.
That's such a powerful story, and I think it's a good opening for other people as well who are in those early stages of kind of thinking, why am I going through a degree like to become a certain kind of person that I don't want to be, especially in the world we live in now. There's so many other cool things you can be doing without having to be
Yeah.
a doctor or a lawyer or the
Yeah.
the typical good jobs that all the aunties and
Yeah.
uncles are like, wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. I know and it was funny because like when we were, my husband is not Sri Lankan.
Hmm.
He's like fifth generation Chinese Australian. And so this is like so foreign to him, right? Like my upbringing is so
Yeah.
foreign to him. It was funny, like the other day we were talking about how when he was 11, he went from Australia to the UK to play in the school orchestra.
Mm.
And I was like, you know what I was doing at 11? I wasn't even allowed to have a sleepover. Like, do you think my parents would, would let me go across the globe? And like to him, he was like, oh yeah. And I was like, I wouldn't have been allowed to do
Yeah, no,
that.
there's no way.
So it's just funny, like our different upbringings in that way. But when we were getting married, my dad was like, "So what do I say that he does?" Like my husband did like economics. He works in marketing. Like
Yeah.
again, it's not, it doesn't feel like a real job in like my parents' world. But my
Yeah.
parents also understand it's there's so much you can do now. But
Yeah.
I but that's because I had to show them,
Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah.
100%. Yeah. I think even after this day, I still laugh because when I decided to go into psychology, it was such a big deal. And I did it because I loved doing it. And even
Yeah.
now, my grandpa still introduces me to people. He's like, this is my granddaughter. She's a psychologist. And I'm like, you don't have to tell people that.
Yeah, I love that you're a psychologist. Like I love like I know we were speaking about this earlier, but like the intersect of like just the sense of self and style, like what I do, right? Like I love having these conversations. So I love that you do it because
Yeah, no,
it's
for
yeah, I
sure.
do
It's
it.
so
Yeah,
cool. And like you said, it
yeah,
intersects so well because it's all about self-confidence as well. And we see a
yeah,
lot of people with like imposter syndrome, for example,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, yeah, it works really well.
Like I was saying earlier, like it's not the clothes that I'm like yes, it's the clothes I help
Mm.
with, but it's like a lot of the women are in like transitional phases of their life. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like maybe they've lost a lot of weight and then they still see themselves as like a different version of
Mm.
themselves. So they've got the wardrobe, but they like still feel uncomfortable wearing the thing,
Yeah.
or like they're going into a new role and so they've got the new wardrobe, but they have that imposter syndrome of like actually wearing it and going. And
Yeah.
it wasn't it's not like every client, but I was noticing this theme, kind of this
Yeah.
pattern coming up with women that are in like
Interesting.
transitional um phases of their life. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, there's like identity, like their identity, it hasn't caught up to the external reality. And yeah, so yeah,
That's so
I think
true.
it's
And so how do you navigate
yeah.
something like that then? Like because like being a stylist, that must be just you don't know who's going to walk in or who's going to ask you what kind of questions, right? Or what kind of person you're dealing with. So that's probably just so much fun because
It's
every person must be a new challenge for you.
Yeah, it's interesting because like everyone does a intake form at the
Hmm.
start, and then it's like it helps me get a sense of where they're at and what what it is, but from like a clothing perspective, right? Like it's not like in a style perspective. But then when we start talking, it's like the language they use or the little remarks like that they use. Like it's kind of like, oh, okay, like, oh, it's interesting that you said that. Because, I'll show like a top that has like a sleeveless top or something. It's like, oh, that one I can wear like after I do like 10 more Pilates classes, right?
Mm,
And it's like, oh, okay, like why can't you wear it now? Let's talk
yeah.
about this. Like it's
Yeah.
kind of like just little things like that. And then I've had other clients, like if we've kind of like done a whole wardrobe like refresh for them at the end of the session, then they're like, I've had one client who was like, so I just wear this now? And I'm like, yeah, like then yeah,
Oh,
like you're allowed to just wear it. And I had another client who she would wear it, but then she'd feel really uncomfortable leaving the house. Like she's happy in the clothes, but because she still in her head saw her as herself as a larger size, and
mm,
because she'd lost a lot of weight. So again, I'm not a psychologist or a therapist or anything like that, but it's like, how do I make them comfortable and how
hmm
do I help them take baby steps? And so like for one of them, I was like, don't wear everything new, because she worked in a male dominated field and she wanted to be taken more seriously in
mm,
her job and feel better about herself, but she didn't want the men commenting on what she was wearing. So it was like,
Yeah.
okay, like let's do baby steps. Like maybe just do like a top first and then still wear the pants and like ease your nervous system into this new scenario that you're
Yeah.
building for yourself, right? And it's just that's it. Like it's just coaching them a little bit in that way. But ultimately they have to take that step. They've already done the
Yeah.
vision board. They've already done they know they want to be this version of themselves, but yeah, ultimately, like they have to do it. They have to take that step themselves.
And it
Yeah,
must be so
yeah,
rewarding for you, like when they do take those steps, right?
yeah, absolutely. Because it's just clothes, but it has such an effect on how
Yeah.
they carry themselves, or like just it's a physical change. Like you can see it. And when I lived in Sydney, I did a lot of like one-on-ones in person. So
Hmm.
now it's mostly just virtual.
Yeah.
And like you get the virtual links to the pieces and all of that. But before COVID, actually, one-on-ones in store was fantastic because now a lot of stores don't carry the full range, or they've
Mm.
closed down like physical shops. So it's a little bit harder, but before it was great, and we'd kind of walk around and I'd pick up pieces, and you see their face being like, "I would never pick that up," and I'm like, "Why?" But like on your consultation form, you said this, and this, so it's
Yeah.
like they want it, but then in reality
They're
they're
scared.
not making they're scared, and so it's really fun to break those like barriers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it must also take a lot of effort to build that rapport because you need that to gain their trust, right? Because others they'll just be like,
yeah.
oh, why are you just telling me to change how I look?
Yes, yes, it's this is why I studied with Australian Style Institute, because
Mm.
like liking clothes, or like liking shopping and putting outfits together, is literally the bare minimum
Yeah.
when it comes to being a personal stylist, because there is a manner in which you have to speak to people, and we learn all of it. There's like things that are going to come up. There's a lot of emotion tied with physical appearance and shopping and all
Yeah.
of that. Like,
It's
yeah,
like being a psychologist, but for clothes.
but it's
Yeah.
right. No, like it is.
Yeah,
It
because
is
there's a
with so
lot of,
much
yeah.
emotion.
Yeah, and like baby steps
Yeah.
and patience as well.
And I would say like it's a co-creation process. So
Mm.
it's like I don't like saying this is what I've picked. After the consultation, I'll put together a mood board of like
Yeah.
just like various things. And some of them are kind of like a little bit out there, some of them are safe, and but there's a range that falls within what they've already told me in the form.
Yeah.
And we just chat about it, and we'll just see like it's like, where's your eye going? What did you like about that? And I don't think people sit and think about style or fashion like that, like necessarily all the time. And so it
Hmm.
just gives them a chance to be all in
Yeah.
on themselves and just have fun and just play a little bit. And it's like, it's okay to want to like something. Like,
I love that you've turned a full hobby and like your love for shopping into a full-time job basically now.
no, it's kind of crazy. Yeah.
Tell me about the other part, the entrepreneur part and the writer part. I want to hear more about that as well.
So when I first started my blog and Instagram, it was very much about affordable fashion. So everything
Hmm.
was like under $150, and it was just like the quick dopamine hits, and that's how I shopped as well. And I started that 12 years ago, even like
Yeah.
2012, so 13 years ago. So as I've grown up, the more I work one-on-one with women, the more I'm like, okay, this is so much deeper than a quick buy. Don't get me wrong, I'm so grateful for all the opportunities that I had, like working with brands. I did some really cool projects, like co-designed collections. I worked with international brands. Like it was amazing, but it was taking me away from that why, like that I
Mm.
did why did I do my style certificate? It was like to actually like really help women on a deeper level. 2.5 years ago, we moved to the US, and it just felt like this really like good time like to start pivoting the business into what I actually wanted to do. Like I kept hearing legacy, like what is your legacy? What's the legacy you're leaving? And so I've been on this like deep dive of like restructuring the business, and now like my styling business is called Style on Purpose,
Hmm.
and it's about helping women dress with intention for their lifestyle rather than kind of just buying the cheap thing, buying what they see on Instagram, and and it's like shifting in it's shifted to that now. And I also have a jewelry business which I launched 5 years ago, and it was two-pronged. One was I wanted a affordable jewelry piece that wasn't going to tarnish and was like water
Mm.
resistant, but you're not paying like gold prices.
Yep.
So there was that because I my jewelry kept tarnishing, and yeah, so I created a product that would serve that. But I was also noticing just like a lot of my audience were just like busy moms who don't necessarily have time to like put together outfits or put
Mm.
together like or go shopping. But this was like a piece that they could just put on like a simple earring or a necklace and they could feel like they've done something for themselves. So that's why I have that business as
What's
well.
that called?
So it was called The Treasured Edit, and it's now called By Tina. I went through a bit of a restructure, so I'm kind of like restructuring all of my businesses right now. So now it's called By Tina, and it is stocked at Ellen Rowe Jewelry, which is um like my friend's jewelry brand, but we both had our jewelry made in the same workshop, so it's the same quality. So
Mm.
now that it's stocked with them, you can shop my pieces, but then also have access to their range. Yeah, that's how I've pivoted
I
that
love
business.
that. I just love how authentic and humble you are. Technically, you're an OG influencer if you really think about it. Like, you're one of the
Yeah.
original ones.
Yeah, like back then we didn't know what a brand deal was, and I had to navigate that. And
Yeah.
like yeah, it was a lot to figure out, especially as a girl whose background is like science and law
Yeah.
and stuff. It's like, wait, what? Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember going to a cricket match in Sydney, and Sri Lanka was playing, and I think they were playing Australia. But my dad and I love watching the cricket together.
Hmm.
So I was with him and we were walking to our seats, and like every like couple of minutes someone's like, "Oh my gosh, Tina, hi, I follow you." Oh, and like we kept getting stopped, and my dad's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, people know. I don't know if people know me, I guess."
Oh, that's so lovely. And I love
Uh,
that you've stayed authentic to like yourself as well. Like you said, you still hold on to your Sri Lankan-ness and your Australian-ness. And it was great having you on the podcast as well. And I think just your journey and how cool your job is and how you've just turned a hobby into a full-time job is going to inspire a lot of people to just take that leap. Because sometimes it's scary, right? To kind of take that chance to do something more meaningful as well.
Yes, like what I used to do, and it's a little bit morbid, but every month also I'd be like, if I died today or like
Hmm.
tomorrow, like, am I, what am I going to be regretting? And like, am I happy with like what I've done in the last like 6 months of my life? And I used to have like little check-ins, and I don't actually do it anymore, but like more now, like I'm kind of more like future focused.
Yeah.
But back then, when I was working this job and building a business, I was working like long, long hours because I'd be working and then coming home and doing this business. But it was kind of like I don't want to like I say I didn't try. Like I
Yeah.
can't not try.
Hmm.
So that's kind of what kept me going because I'm like, I don't want to like be like, oh damn it, I didn't get to do that thing.
Yeah.
So it's just, what are you regretting? What are you gonna regret? Like, and what are you happy settling for,
True.
So
Yeah. And it goes back to what you were saying earlier as well about the legacy. Like, what's your legacy? Like, what are you going to leave behind?
yeah. Yeah. When we moved to America, like I'd never been here,
Mm.
and I just said, fine, let's go, let's see what happens. And it's been the hardest and most rewarding thing I think I've ever done. Like even more than leaving my full-time job to
Yeah.
build the business. I think that that's still hard and it's all running alongside, but like these opportunities at the times that are going to like supercharge or turbocharge your growth. And I
Yeah.
think the things I've learned about business and just myself in the last 2.5 years, it would have taken me years, or if not, I might not even have made it that far because just
Mm.
the environment wasn't conducive to to those changes. So
Yeah.
yeah, take those opportunities.
Yeah, and trust your
Yeah.
gut as well, I think is a big one because like if you know deep down that you're just not enjoying what you're doing, why
Yeah.
stick around forever? I know money is a big part of
I
it.
forgot I did this. I just remembered. Like I used to finish work in Parramatta, and I signed up for this service where you can drive doctors like that do their in-house
Oh,
visits. So
okay.
I think it's called Home Doctor Service, but they need drivers. So I
Mm,
worked in Parramatta, and so that's the suburb in Sydney, but next to it is Westmead, which is where the hospital is. So I used to then like drive doctors from the hospital
yeah,
home,
yeah.
but they would do like inpatient, like at home, like visits. And
Yeah.
I earned extra money like that to like
Yeah.
put towards that fund that I was trying to build up so I could leave my job for no pay for a year.
Yeah.
So it's like you hustle.
You
You
have
do
to.
it.
Yeah, you have to put in the
Yeah.
hard work to reap the benefits later.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not easy, but you like if you lock in, I promise, like this is what I also tell other people, like you can lock in and just go super hard for a couple of years or 3 years or whatever it is, but you
Hmm.
have to like and then you have to cruise. Like you have to remember like that's not a sustainable way to do it. So you kind of go through that to get to the first phase, and then second phase is like, all right, now how do I build a lifestyle with the business
Yeah.
as well? And I think when we left Sydney, like I was at a phase of content creation business and brand work business where I was done, but I didn't know what was next. And I
Mm.
just had to, that was another phase of like letting go and rebuilding. And to rebuild in a country like where I don't really know anybody, like I'm just trying to like figure it out. It's humbling, honestly.
Well, it's your next big challenge, I guess.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
next chapter. It's loading. It is yeah, like I'm as we speak, it's I'm doing it. So
Love that. Thank you so much, Sheena. I really appreciate you taking the time to
of
come on the
course.
podcast and talk to us about your journey from Sri Lanka to Sydney and now to LA. And everyone's probably going to really appreciate having this advice, and hopefully it inspires some people to just take that leap
Hope
and
so.
plan ahead now.
Yeah, I hope so. You only have one life, you know?
Yeah.
I hope you're having fun doing it.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Migrant Munch. If you really liked what you heard today, reach out to us, get in touch, tell us what really inspired you, and we'd love to connect with you and hear more about your story.